It's so wonderful to be in New York. It's such a gift. I mean, I'm from Los Angeles, and I feel like everyone in Los Angeles, whether they admit it or not, secretly dreams of nothing but coming to New York. And vice versa, I will say. Like, a lot of New York people want to be in LA. It's a wonderful place. But there's just this, like, sort of love affair between those two cities. And especially with, like, especially, of course, being a theater person, like, there's nothing that beats Broadway. And then you get here and you figure out there's also off-Broadway and off-Broadway, and there are so many more ecosystems and worlds than you ever knew existed. And it's so much more exciting. I'm so glad that that Broadway isn't the only thing here. I would be so disappointed if I had dreamed of Broadway and only gotten it, and not all these other rich communities. It's really wonderful living here. I mean, like, bad on me because I don't get out as much as I should, but it's a wonderful place to be. I would say, I think the stories that interest me are stories that could only be told on stage. I guess maybe it's just because we have so many other mediums now, but when I see something and I think, wow, I don't think I could have really felt the way I feel unless I was in the room, those are the kind of stories I like. I also really enjoy, like, stories that I feel like I've never seen before, things that feel fresh, which is a lot of what Performateria has been. I think people are quick to devalue it, but I do think that there's a very specific point of view that comes with being a young artist. And everybody talks about that, right? Like, everybody mentions, that they want writers that have a voice. And young writers have voices. There's a very distinct, like, energy and voice that comes with youth and creating while young. I think that's a huge benefit. I think the disadvantage, of course, is that that voice is devalued. There's just an assumption that work from a young artist is necessarily unprofessional or necessarily novice or necessarily fitting within a predetermined box of what young people think about or care about or write about. Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions, I think, that people walk into when they know that they're seeing something that's by a young person, which is part of why it's been so exciting to be able to sort of enter this industry in a more professional capacity to sort of defy some of those expectations. I wish I had real strategies. I think so far the strategy I've used to try to balance art and school has just been like sleep deprivation, just coffee and not sleeping. Yeah, a lot of that. But I also have found that, like, academia has been a very fertile ground in terms of art. I found that, like, a lot of my academic classes, like computer science classes, like statistics, things that I never would think would inspire writing, have happened to really inspire writing. So there's, like, a nice interplay, but in terms of getting it actually done, it's just lack of sleep. I think, like, the pretty clear answer is I think there's a very stark and pointed lack of diversity in the theater community, and also a lack of inclusion in the theater community. Like, holding those two different definitions as, like, diversity being having lots of different kind of people, and inclusion being all those different kinds of people having an equal stake and equal involvement in what's going on. I think there's an issue with both diversity and inclusion in the theater community. That's something that, like, wonderful strides are being taken to remedy, which is awesome. But it is something that really feels clear, especially as a young artist of color looking to move, especially as a young female artist of color looking to move into this world. It's very stark.